Welcome everybody. right back to right back to where we started. But anyways, welcome to the first community call of the new year. Happy New Year to everybody. It's been a while since we've done one of these, so we have a lot to catch up on, mostly as it pertains to Dinero, but we also have some hand updates as well. So I was going to go through governance first, but I think we don't really have anything that's live. Most of the relevant votes we covered on the last call before the new year, and I don't think there's been anything super important since then. Mostly just like whitelisting proposals for hidden hand and stuff like that. But I believe in the near future, most of that stuff will be handled by the policy committee. So I guess we can get straight into hidden hand, and then we'll cover a little bit of Dinero stuff, of course. So on the hidden hand side, 2 markets have gone live since the last time we had a call. PancakeSwap finally went live. So as you all may have noticed, we were kind of waiting on a grant from Binance, however you say it, before we could actually go live. And so a lot of people were thinking something weird was happening, but we were literally just waiting on them to confirm that we could publicly announce and receive the grant and all of the rest of the stuff. So if anybody has questions about that, happy to answer. But yeah, PancakeSwap is finally live, and they have been sort of reaching out to us, letting us know that they are starting to get some leads on the bribing side. But as usual, I would say just exercise a little bit of patience, because it takes a while to kind of get these ecosystems warmed up and get them used to using a bribe market. PancakeSwap's been live for a long time, and bribing is a very new thing for them. So it might take a little while before things kick off, but we think it's a pretty good opportunity. And they also recently asked us to expand beyond Binance Chain to, I think, Arbitrum and Mainnet, because they had partners who wanted to bribe there. So yeah, if anybody has questions about PancakeSwap, feel free to ask. But I don't know, did I cover everything there? All good? Cool.
Yeah, did you talk about the cross-chain stuff?
Yeah, I mean, kind of. If you want to add more context, feel free.
Yeah, so for us, obviously the market we were most interested in, and the reason we did it was BSC, but Pancake is finding some traction, especially after the Kyber exploit on a lot of these other chains, more specifically Scroll and ZK Sync. Scroll, ZK Sync, and Linea. So we're going to the gauges are cross-chain as well, so you can lock cake on any chain and vote from wherever, or you can lock on BSC and vote for Linea, whatever the case is. So right now, like, we have that same functionality, but even if you wanted to bribe for a Linea pool, you'd have to make that bribe on BSC, which is not the ideal flow. So we're going to be working with them to expand those markets to like capture some of the chains which, like, one, we're not on, and two, they're finding more traction with.
Dope. So yeah, that should be exciting. We'll see how it plays out, and of course, as bribes start to roll in, we will highlight them, and of course, you guys can keep up in the bribe bot tracker over time. The other market that went live, I think it was literally yesterday, is the Beethoven market. I'm not sure how they pronounce it, but they are a friendly balancer fork on Optimism and Phantom, maybe? Yeah, Optimism and Phantom, I think. But Phantom? Okay, so I swear they have a deployment on Optimism too, but maybe I'm tripping. But anyway, that went live. We don't have a ton of insight. Yeah, I just checked. They do have Optimism. It's a lot smaller though. No, actually, their Optimism deployment's bigger, 30 million TVL. But anyways, yeah, it's a lot smaller of a market than like Balancer and Aura, for example. We're hoping to see some decent bribe volume there. And again, we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out. This is all more just part of the strategy of making sure a hidden hand is well positioned for any sort of impending bull market that is to come. I think the more integrations across more chains and more types of projects we can have, the better positioned hidden hand is. It's kind of like we'll expand as much as we need to, and then as people grow, then hopefully bribes will start to flow through those markets. And if not, then no big deal. Mostly because the lift isn't super difficult in terms of integrating new partners on Hidden Hand. So it's relatively easy for us to do. And if we can go ahead and just enter those ecosystems early, then I think that puts Hidden Hand in a really good spot. Is there anything?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Never.
Yeah. I think just also for the growth of Hidden Hand, like especially with these different markets that are, where the governance tokens on mainnet, but you can have the operations running on L2s. I think we can actually get like huge growth there and beat out all the other competitors that are on mainnet. This allows smaller fish to actually like get relevant yields, be able to sell them, whatever, realize them. Hopefully we can start transitioning more there too as well in the next year, because like the UX operationally and also just for users is just so much better on L2s.
For sure. So that's Hidden Hand stuff. I doubt we have any questions about it. The only question we've been getting about Hidden Hand lately anyways, was Pancake Swap stuff. So now that that's live, I think we're in a good spot. And as far as I know, most of the partner pipeline for Hidden Hand has been caught up to. So a lot of the ones we released over the past few months were sort of on the Hidden Hand backlog. And now that we've gotten all of those live, we should be in the clear. So we might get a short break from Hidden Hand launches, but I'm sure with the bull market, or really the market turning around and looking like we're going into a bull market, I'm sure a new project is going to be launching. New projects are going to be shifting tokenomics, embracing gauges, and all the rest. So we should see some decent inbound soon, if I had to guess. So basics out of the way. Let's talk about Dinero and Pirex ETH. So as you all know, Pirex ETH launched about 3 weeks ago, but it wasn't until a few days ago that yield went live on APX ETH, and that a lot of the gauges started going live across various dexes. So I guess we can kind of start from the top and then address things as they've launched. So starting with Maverick, we heard the feedback, and I just want to make sure that everybody is very clear about kind of like why we chose Maverick as the launch partner and why we probably aren't going to continue incentivizing it, but it's an integration that will continue to exist. So essentially, Funky can probably get better insight into this than I can, but a lot of the process of getting gauges live on some of these bigger dexes requires your token to like be live, and it requires the projects to be live before you can kind of get the ball moving. And then once you're live, it's about a 2.5 week, 3 week process before the gauge actually goes live and starts receiving rewards. So we chose Maverick because it was the easiest to have ready to go on launch day. We didn't want to launch and have nothing for people to do, and Maverick was kind of the easiest solution there. And so we were able to use Butterfly, and they also matched some of those Butterfly rewards up to a certain percentage in order to kind of like get yield kicked off on at least one integration, so people weren't bored to death on launch day. But unfortunately, they have like a weird slippage mechanism thing that requires you to at first deposit more ETH than you're wanting to deposit, and then you receive it back later. And apparently people just absolutely fucking hated that UX, and we kind of agreed, but there's nothing we could do to like change the design of their smart contracts. So given the feedback, given that people didn't particularly love LPing there, we're, I think, just going to move on to incentivizing other opportunities. So does that make sense to everyone? And Funky, did I leave anything out there?
Yeah, I think that you covered the main points. For most AMEMs, there's not the kind of opportunity to incentivize directly. In order to use gauges, it takes quite a while to get things rolling. For example, like we literally, the day after we launched PX ETH, we had the gauge proposals to curve, and
for the longest time, it's a Japanese brand called Dinero.
getting comments about my mic. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah, it just sounds like you have like the History Channel on in the background or something.
I did have the TV. My bad. Yeah, so basically, it takes a while. But TLDR is it takes a while to get gauges going. We basically just started applying for example, for the curve gauges, and we'll be voting with our VLCVX for the first time, basically on Monday. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, so in the interim, we were looking for a way for us to incentivize directly on AMEMS and Maverick was an interesting opportunity because we can choose exactly what liquidity position we can incentivize. We're incentivizing like a 90% PX ETH, 10% ETH position, which looked to kind of maximize the amount of PX ETH in the LP and therefore create more leverage. But in the next week, basically starting Thursday next week, we'll be seeing this our main incentivization strategy on Curve, Bunny, and Balancer. So really excited for those. And then for the keen-eyed as well, you can see there's a bunch of ETH sitting in our treasury, and that'll be used to LP, but also to bootstrap other integrations as well. So a lot coming.
Dope. And yeah, we can kind of talk about the liquidity strategy a little bit here too, since and I also want to clarify, I'm not trying to bash Maverick's product. I think they have a great product. The LPing experience just isn't as smooth as others. So I guess that was the main point there. So not bashing their product, good partner, and we appreciate them supporting us at launch. But anyways, I think now is a good time to kind of venture into talking about the liquidity strategy, the pairs available, and the yield opportunities available. So right now, we have 3 pools that are live and have gauges ready to go. The first one, I guess in no particular order, the first one is kind of like PX ETH and Wrapped ETH on Bunny, which is actually on Uniswap V3, but incentivized by Bunny. And then we have PX ETH, Frax ETH on Balancer, and then we have PX ETH, Staked ETH on Curve. And we've gotten a lot of questions about like why we're diversifying liquidity. So I don't know if you want to give some insight into why we're doing that.
Yeah, so I guess the first one is for Uni V3. We've gone with just normal ETH. But with Bunny, we have the opportunity to kind of drive some really efficient Uni V3 liquidity. So that's like the main one. For Curve and Balancer, we have a Steve and Frax ETH pools. Although we are LSTs, we have an LST which is competing against Frax ETH and Steve. We have the opportunity to work with these different projects and also benefit from pairing with them in LPs. For example, by pairing with Steve, the Steve in the LP will also earn yield. So basically, it will help boost the yields for Steve, PX ETH. And then for Frax, we're working with them to get a Frax gauge, which means that at the first level, Frax will co-incentivize based on the amount of Frax ETH in the pool, but we can also use the VFXS we have in the treasury to drive more CVL there. And the idea to kind of diversify is working with many different partners. We have kind of different avenues to go forward, different ways that we can find yields for people to get on their PX ETH. And that's kind of the name of the game right now, is finding ways for PX ETH to earn yield so that the kind of leverage effect on APX ETH is higher. And that's kind of the 2-token system, the way that it works, and how we can kind of hopefully create some reflexivity and make TVL go up.
Yep. So yeah, hopefully that answers most of the questions people have had about liquidity. But if there are any others, of course, please feel free to ask them. But also the other big update regarding yield and opportunities within Pirex ETH is that APX ETH, the numbers for the APX ETH yield went live. The validators are cranking out rewards and people are earning yield in the staking vault. So Never, I don't know if you want to give an update on kind of what we've been doing there, the process of kind of getting the validator spun up, and if there's anything next that we should talk about.
Yeah, it was just a kind of a waiting game, right? Once you have them validating, it still takes a couple of days for them to become harvestable. So so now it's been a while since I've been running, so they've started being able to, people are now, like our keepers are able to withdraw some of that above 32 ETH to deposit them into the vaults. So yeah, system's working as expected. I think we went through end to end nearly everything now. A user at least has used every single feature that we have now, and it's all stable. So super happy about that. Yeah, we're going to keep a proactive thing where I think we have now enough validators to support another like double of TVL. So I'm just going to keep proactively keep having that backlog so that our yield actually will scale. And make sure that it never drops.
Yield's never dropping. You heard it here first. But what I'm really interested in is that, like, I assumed that because of Frax's success with the 2-token model, that a ton of people would, by default, understand how it works. And I was completely fucking wrong about that. And I think it's mostly because Frax relies on a lot of high context whales to prop up the system. And we're not necessarily going after that audience. And so most people have actually never been exposed to the 2-token model. And so, yeah, Harkin, I know you think it's not confusing, but I've gotten a million questions about how it works. So I've definitely heard the feedback there, and I'm spending a lot of time on educational content and resources, and we'll just have more and more coming out over the next few weeks. So just wanted to let everybody know that if the 2-token model is like confusing or frustrating for you, don't worry. There's going to be a lot of opportunities to keep things. I don't know where I was going with that actually, but anyway, I just wanted to air that concern. So, I guess we should talk about, is FraxETH really the only other 2-token LST model, or is it wider spread? No, I'm pretty sure FraxETH is the only other one besides us. Were you going to say something, Sammy?
Yeah, two things. One is there's not a lot of projects, John, that can do the 2-token model. Obviously, like it's a luxury that we can afford, because obviously you need to have a sufficient treasury in order to like get something like the 2-token model going, which we're in a position to do. Like, between our treasury and Pirex, we own more CVX than, not only Frax, we own more CVX than the two founders combined. That's how much CVX we control. So like, this is something that we can do. But at the same time, I was going to say was beyond what you just mentioned now, Colton, the questions about L2 stuff. So once the convex pools are live, we're going to start more working on the L2 system. I'm sure you guys are probably aware of what we're doing there. Optimism, we're going to do Velodrome, and Arbitrum, we're doing Camelot, because we have both a very big Velo position that was gifted to us by our dear friend Gabagool, and
Shout out to Velo.
Gabagool, and Arbitrum, we're part of the roundtable for Camelot. So same sort of system. Once that's live, we're going to start expanding to the L2s, get to places that other LSTs haven't gotten to. But obviously, we're trying to make we're trying to make an impact on mainnet first. And I think once the convex pool is live, I'm sure everyone on this call is aware, like it'll be a pretty big step for us, just because of how much the 2-token model depends on our convex stack. Let's say that. And the other thing is that, like, some people like are not enjoying gas. I'm not enjoying gas either. No one likes paying gas. One thing that I saw someone talking about in the Discord anyway, so I'm sure it's common news now, is that we're working with a partner where you will be able to deposit ETH, STETH, USDC, whatever token, all the major tokens on any L2, and that will mint you PXE on any L2 or L1 that you want, or whichever one they're integrated with. So that'll be really good for adoption too. One of the other LSTs in the market, Swell, integrated this, and it brought in around like 60% of their TVL. So like I'm aware that people really want to be able to deposit natively on the L2s and the other L1s and stuff. So obviously, strategically, I don't know why anyone would disagree with the idea that it makes more sense to get mainnet going first, get all of that infrastructure set up, then start the expansion to the L2s, focus on Arbitrum, Optimism, and then all the other ones that sort of exist around it, and then open up the deposits on the L2s. Yeah, and when I'm saying L2s, I mean Alt L1s also. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah, and I think we have an announcement with a partner coming out Monday that pertains to our cross-chain efforts. So literally Monday morning. So you all just have to wait like 2 days. Couple questions. So do we have governance power on Aerodrome as well, or just Velodrome? I think just Velodrome.
Yeah, the VE NFT that we have for Velodrome was not eligible for the Aerodrome airdrop. So no. Forget what we were thinking for base. I think we were gonna do Aerodrome on base, but there was another Dex. I don't know, maybe Terrence or Karn. You guys know which one it is? You want to just share it in the chat?
Cool. Next question. Convex Pool is live. Rewards are just not streaming yet, right? Two things. One, the Convex Pool is live, and there are some rewards. They're just not cracked yet.
Yeah. On the convex site, so basically the way the convex curve rewards work is that there's a gauge contract, and then rewards are sent to that contract, but somebody needs to call the harvest function on the contract for the rewards to be distributed to people, and it costs like a certain amount of money. But if you are on convex, those rewards will accumulate. You just need to wait for somebody to press harvest, and somebody will do that at some point.
When redacted chain on Arbitrum Orbit that takes Dinero as gas. Is Arbitrum Orbit the Optimism competitor thing that they're working on, where like Optimism is doing the...
It's like the L3s that settle on Arbitrum.
So it's different from like what base is?
I don't think it's like the OP stack like L2 as a service. I think it's like L3s as a service that settle on. I don't know. Anyone can correct me.
Damn, we're out here talking about L3s. That's crazy. Redacted chain. Interesting. Maybe we should. Is that Elon talking? Yeah, Funky and Elon are the same person. With the Treasury voting for PX ETH pools, will this affect revenue for RL butterfly yields? Seems like a you question, Funky.
Yeah, the short answer is yes. Yeah, that was kind of part of the incentivized PX ETH governance that we had a few months ago. So as we use governance power to bootstrap PX ETH, it will mean that there'll be less treasury yield being generated, but there will still be some treasury yield from other kind of treasury assets. But yeah, it's an investment into PX ETH.
Yeah, short-term trade-off for long-term benefit, I think, is the goal there. Next question is about Eigenlayer. I think they just reached all of their deposit caps too. I'm not privy to that conversation, so if we have any Eigenlayer updates.
Eigenlayer vote will happen. I think I've said that a bunch to everyone who's asked. They're not having another vote until like they told me like not days, weeks. If they said days, weeks, months, they said months. In terms of like the new LSTs they want to add, so we'll be in that next vote 100%, and I don't see why we wouldn't pass either. So yeah, the short answer to Eigenlayer is yes, we will try our best to be included, and like we're talking with them. We're talking with the relevant restaking projects. We're talking with potential people. Actually, today I had a call with someone potentially that might use PXE for restaking with Eigenlayer too. So, like, we're making all sorts of pushes there, so I wouldn't worry about it. It's just like that's just like they move slow. There's nothing wrong with that.
Cool. So yeah, looks like restaking is going to be like a little bit of a narrative. It looks like there are probably going to be Eigenlayer like competitors, and so obviously those are good targets too. If Dinero relies on the amount of PX ETH, what is the amount or milestone to be ready to launch it? It also doesn't necessarily. So I don't know if you're talking about the relayer or the stablecoin. The stablecoin mostly relies on having a price feed to make sure that borrowing works properly and that we could properly price Pyrex ETH, but that is a Chainlink requirement that revolves around like volume and liquidity and stuff like that. If you're talking about the relayer, that mostly depends on our ability to successfully create blocks. And obviously, the more validators we have, the more likely it is for us to land blocks. thus making the relayer better. Does that make sense? And Funky, you had a comment there about pool maintenance costs, so if you want to expand on that.
Yeah, so Dinero obviously is a cool way for users to use APX ETH. Very handy for, say, like looping yields. It's a big kind of use case around Steve and Frex ETH at the moment. But one of the big costs or opportunity costs for Dinero is that people need to have good liquidity for the Dinero stablecoin in order to be able to use it. And maintaining these liquidity pools is an expense. So when we do launch Dinero, one of the things that we'll have to consider is at what point is it kind of cost effective for us to launch Dinero? And as Colin was saying, the kind of is two things. First of all, is with the relayer with GateSafe, when are we kind of making blocks reliably? There's kind of like demand for Dinero on the relayer. And then the second point is when there's enough PX ETH and demand around, like, say, leverage and looping, so that the kind of fees generated from the Dinero stablecoin are able to kind of compensate for the pool maintenance costs.
And we'll also get a little bit of the taste, or get a preview of the demand for leverage whenever, we start getting integrated with the borrowing protocols like Prisma, Gravitas, Aave, Compound, all the rest. So something to keep in mind. But yeah, I've been getting a lot of questions about like all of the other phases of Dinero whenever the first phase just went live like 3 weeks ago. So I would say like a lot of the focus is going to be on making sure that Pirex ETH is as successful as it possibly can be, because the rest of the system kind of relies on the success of Pirex ETH. So we want to make sure that like the majority of our immediate attention is focused on growing Pirex ETH. So I would say let's focus on that first, and then cross the other bridges later. Okay, I think that is all of the questions so far. If anybody has other ones, we might as well knock those out now. Otherwise, we could probably... What about marketing? Yeah, apparently. So I found out yesterday that I suck ass at my job. So that was good news for me. What is the appetite for hidden hand rewards and PX ETH instead of wrapped ETH? That's a good question, actually. So I think soon we might try to put together a proposal about like switching anything that's rewarded in wrapped ETH as PX ETH. Is that something that would be interesting for everybody? You thought I was a CTO? Yeah, Chief Twitter Officer is actually what CTO stands for. So, or RO butterfly payouts in PX ETH instead of wrapped ETH. Yeah, I mean, I think that's like super interesting for us, mostly to tie everything together. But obviously, it's not like something we want to force through if it's not necessary. Fees of swapping out of PX ETH are annoying. Okay, good to know. I won't ask my weekly question. I mean, you can ask your weekly question if you want. We're here, so you might as well ask it. But anyway, on the marketing front, I can kind of talk about it a little bit. So, yeah, why on earth are you swapping out? But anyway, on the marketing front, I would say just give us time. It's kind of like looking at some of the other liquid staking options out there, even like Frax ETH, for example. It takes a couple of months to get going. That's because integrations take a couple of months to get going, and people are likely not going to just like mint stuff just to mint it or deposit just to deposit it. They kind of have to be convinced to use a new technology. One way to do that is to bribe them with an airdrop, which we don't have. The other way to do that is to educate them about the benefits, which is the route we're going, and kind of like promote the yield opportunities available to them. And obviously, tracking mindshare takes time. So I would say give everything a couple of months before, getting too mad about whatever the rate of adoption is. PX ETH for RO butterfly rewards, APX ETH for HH compounders, get more people to use it. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a bunch of options that we can think through with regards to how we tie PX ETH into the rest of the products that we have. fees to swap out of any LST are annoying. True. I mean, yeah, Ethereum is just expensive. Any thoughts on the Arrakis vault strategy in these conditions and whether they should be altered? Currently, it's dampening volatility both ways, but does that mean that the high amount of interest and buying at the moment are making so much impact on the price as they would have before Arrakis? Question is not just from a win-moon perspective, but also dampens value of butterfly incentives for PXE. Any thoughts? Funky, I guess.
I mean, I don't know what the. So, I mean, the Rackets Vault, its job is to facilitate large trades, right? Like providing deeper liquidity. That's kind of the idea with UniV3. I mean, we're not our job. We're not looking at pushing price one way or the other, but just providing liquidity. And I don't think that when we were setting up the vault with the Rackets, the goal was just to facilitate volume. I think changing the goals to say like price or fee, something like that, I don't know if that's the best way to go about it. Deeper liquidity just means that price won't move as easily, which I think is a good thing, because you just want more liquidity, right?
Cool. Hopefully that answers that. I don't know. Go ahead, Timmy.
I'm pretty sure most of the. I just saw it was Karn that said fees to swap out of any LST are annoying. Our BD person is literally dampening the growth of PXE.
Bearish as fuck.
Yeah, that's bearish. But I was gonna say that. What were we talking about? Arrakis is mostly. Last I checked, 80% of it is in full range, just like it would be in like UniV2, and then there's like a tighter spread right around what the current price is. If you guys don't like Arrakis, we won't do Arrakis. You guys say the word, but we're pretty happy with it. Makes good money, better than holding. It's attracting a lot more volume than Curve and Convex, which is good. So I'm not opposed to changing, but I think the Arrakis strategy right now is working. I wouldn't say it's not working. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we were getting and not saying you're complaining about Arrakis. For whatever reason, I can't see your name. I think it's because I'm using OBS in the background, but yeah, you actually had a lot more complaints before whenever one person selling or buying or whatever moved the price in a dramatic direction either way, and that seemed like a consequence of not using Arrakis. And ever since switching, that is less of an issue, just because obviously the pool can facilitate more trading volume with less dramatic impact. New merch will save us. Yeah, so I had some questions about merch in the general chat, and of course we will talk about it right now. So I'm working on it. I have some designs and stuff in the backlog. I'm trying to source not only the material for the merch, but also distribution. We also had a request for a beanie, which I think is pretty fucking cool. So I will figure out where we can source one of those. I think we also have somebody else looking into it. So yeah, we'll work on merch and figure out how to distribute it. It's only the first week of January, so I still have a couple of weeks to get it out, but it's coming. Shirt, hoodie, potentially beanie if we can source. Socks later, TM. Let's see. Any other Dinero will save us? Yes. 50 million ARB grant. Yeah, imagine if we got a grant from Arbitrum for a lot of money. Maybe we should launch a layer 3 orbit chain, but only if they give us a big grant. Barachain airdrop update. I would not assume anybody's getting a Barachain airdrop. I see this taking off on Twitter, and I hate to be the fucking Debbie Downer, but yeah, I would not assume that.
Yeah, I'm not sure where that came from either.
Yeah, I don't know either. But yeah, I mean, I don't really give a shit if you guys are using it to psyops everybody into becoming fans of Redacted, but I don't think that's happening. So wouldn't even get stoked on it.
Funky did make a swap on the testnet though, right? What did you do, Funky?
I did too. I fucked around on the testnet too.
Yeah, we're using that. I think we've been working with Barachain. Part of that is using the testnet. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean,
screenshot it's when I'm in Toronto, I'm working out of the Bearchain office, me and ND, and like we help them with like some of the early ecosystem projects. Like we have no idea when the chain is launching or how they're doing the airdrop or anything like that. So I wouldn't take that so literally.
Yeah. Obviously, we'll probably like be on Chain and we'll be working with like ecosystem projects if the opportunity arises. But yeah, I wouldn't assume any of. I've seen some crazy shit on Twitter regarding like and Chain, but I just yeah, I don't really care if you guys do it, but just know that the more people you guys attract that way, the more people are going to be potentially pissed off whenever things don't pan out how people who are not us are promising. Yeah, Sammy, that's actually you under that bear helmet, right?
Yeah, the problem is the whole team is like really decent. Like they all hit the gym a lot. So like that's not me just by
You're not jacked enough.
yeah.
Let's see. Any other questions? We're at the 45-minute mark, so I'll make time for a couple more, but if not, then we can wrap this thing up.
Is Figgy here?
Yeah.
Figgy, send a picture of the stickers. Respond to ARCs. We got a bunch of sick stickers. We even got stickers of my PFP and the one that ARC sent.
Yeah, we do have a fuckload of stickers, so I don't know how we're ever going to distribute those widely, but we'll figure it out. Cool. Well,
100 right here.
cool. Well, if there's no more, we don't have any new employees to give a joke, though. The joke is all of you. Damn, look at all this.
Bro, that's cold. That's so cold. What?
I mean, what? When they ask for a joke and I give a joke and now we're all crying about it.
Bro, our marketing sucks.
Yeah, our marketing does fucking suck. We should fire that guy. Cool. Well, thanks everybody for coming to hang out. We will continue pushing, continue growing Pirex ETH, and move on to the next phases of Dinero later in the year. So appreciate you all hanging out and enjoy your weekend. Peace.
Peace.